Clinton's 2016 excuse tour continued today. She spoke tonight at the Javits Center in New York City. If the name of that place sounds familiar, there's a reason. That's the place Clinton abandoned her supporters on election night. She didn't even bother to show up after she failed to win. Instead, she sent John Podesta out to send her sobbing fans home. Well, 7 months later, Clinton finally showed up. What did she have to say? Well, initially, she suggested she was ready to take some responsibility for losing.
Is the really painful experience of honestly understanding, what I didn't do well or what I didn't do well enough or what our shortcomings were, where we, missed an opportunity, where we didn't do, in retrospect, what might have worked better.
But then, nope. She went right back to the Russian conspiracy.
Obviously, I'm particularly concerned about the role that Russia played and the very serious interference that we know they were responsible for in our most fundamental democratic act. You can't be all right with the idea that a foreign adversary was trying to influence the outcome of our election.
But it wasn't just secret Macedonian agents who derailed her God-given job as president. It was, of course, sexism.
In my book, I take on the issues of sexism and misogyny and talk about it because we need to pull it out and put it in the bright light. And it may be uncomfortable for some people to read how I experienced it, what I believe about it, but I think that's a conversation we need to have.
Hillary also did nothing to back off from her comments yesterday when she began spouting full-blown conspiracy theories about how the Trump campaign masterminded a Russian effort to destroy her.
The Russians, let's say WikiLeaks, same thing, dumped the John Podesta emails. My email account was turned into, the biggest scandal since Lord knows when. They covered it like it was Pearl Harbor. Men got paid for the speeches they made. I got paid for the speeches I made. And it was used, and I thought it was unfairly used. I have my complaints about former Director Comey.
Well, think about the rap you've heard endlessly against the president. He's narcissistic. He won't accept information he disagrees with. He's disconnected from reality. He betrays friends and allies for his own personal gain. Based on what you just saw and her behavior these last few weeks, do any of these criticisms not apply to Hillary Clinton? Be honest with yourself. She can't accept explanations for her defeat that center on her own strategy. So like a Soviet commissar, she searches for wreckers who sabotaged her. She's so detached from reality, she's accusing the Trump campaign of ordering specific hacking efforts to the minute and provides no evidence. And she's so narcissistic, the only person she can't blame for her defeat is herself, when even her biggest handicaps were, of course, self-inflicted. Charles Krauthammer is a writer and columnist, and he joins us now. It does sound like the critique people make of Trump.
Look, I know I'm in a minority here among conservatives, but I actually feel sorry for her.
I do, too. I agree.
I have a soft spot. It could be because I was in my youth a liberal.
Yes.
I retain the marshmallow deep inside my heart that I'm trying not to betray these days. But it's a pathetic performance. Yeah. It's sort of childish. She obviously can't accept responsibility. She's practiced at this, where she says, I love in one of her riffs, she said, was I a perfect candidate? No. Did I make mistakes? Yes. As if these are rhetorical devices. Whoever says she was a perfect candidate, she was a terrible candidate. She was the worst, the worst imaginable. She had all the advantages. Why, just look at the fact that she couldn't shake the challenge of a 74-year-old socialist who, this is the best part about Bernie Sanders, honeymooned in the Soviet Union. She couldn't shake his challenge for 6 months. By the way, Lindsey Graham once said about Bernie in the Soviet Union, yes, and he never left. That was her challenge. She couldn't. And she had the DNC behind her. She complained about the DNC being against her. It's not delusional. This is losing an election, losing something you've been after for 8 years, probably 16 years, is pretty hard. And I think her handlers or somebody who cares for her should have said, don't go out there. You wait a few more years, people will mellow to you. They won't remember details. Maybe they'll have some affection for you, for Michael Dukakis, for Walter Mondale. These are people who weren't sort of, who didn't elicit the same kind of antipathy she does because they didn't wallow in self-pity.
And anger, and it comes off. And I understand the disappointment. For sure, she put a lot on the line, and she lost. And you can understand her grave disappointment.
She lost twice.
But twice. But this is not helpful to the Democratic Party, which needs to think through why they lost. And she's making it pretty hard to do that.
The best thing that's happened to the party, and I would say probably one of the best things that Donald Trump ever did, is he put an end to the Clinton dynasty. That was not helping the party, that was kind of trapped in the past. After all, why was she running? What did she stand for? The most pathetic part of the leaks were the internal memos where she kept demanding of her staff to come up with a message. What is her message? You're approaching 70 years old. You've been running for a decade, and you don't know why you're running? She never knew why she was running. It was her turn. It was like that famous moment in the late 70s when Teddy Kennedy was running for president, and Roger Mudd asked him, "Why are you running?" And he couldn't answer. The answer was, "Because I'm supposed to." That was what, I'm supposed to, I'm entitled to, combination. But she didn't care. I mean, Sanders had a message. He had a message for America. He had a political theory for all of his weirdness and, the fact that socialism isn't exactly a good fit in America. But there was substance. There was none there. And I think in the end, that's sort of what defeated her. There was no rationale for her run. And the Democratic Party suffered being trapped by the Clinton machine, Clinton dominance. Nobody would rise. There were no serious candidates to challenge her, which should have happened. But she cleared the field. She had all the money. She had the official backing. She had the name. She had the association with the president looked at in some ways fondly, at least by Democrats. And that wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough. Boy, what a sad story. What a sad story.
I think we should have, I don't want to be cynical about this, but really she ought to just let it sit for a while.
Yeah.
And let people appreciate her good quality.
I don't think that's cynical at all. I think it's a really wise piece of advice. I doubt she'll listen, but she should. Charles Krauthammer, thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, the press has spent months encouraging the story that Russia somehow hacked the U.S. election, so it really means something if even reporters are now put off by Hillary Clinton's recent statements to that effect. Today, NBC News reporter Andrea Mitchell said that Clinton's claims about that are not backed by evidence.
She's drawing a conspiracy theory. She doesn't have the evidence, but she is obviously hoping that this is that Robert Mueller and what the congressional committees can do. And she's also not blaming herself.
Richard Goodstein is a Democratic strategist and a former advisor to Hillary Clinton. He agrees with Clinton that her defeat was due to, quote, outside forces. It is great to see you tonight. Not easy to find someone who will defend this. So since I know you know a lot of the subject, Mrs. Clinton yesterday referred to Macedonian operatives that played a key role in her defeat. Can you explain the role of Macedonian operatives in her loss?
Let me just say one thing. We acknowledge tragedies in a show like this that happened earlier in the day. I think pulling out of this climate deal was a tragedy for future generations and for the economy. Just to ask the CEOs of Dow and GE and Apple and others. So I know that's not what this segment is about.
But you're in mourning. But I bet if I asked you what was in the Paris Agreement, you wouldn't know.
No, actually, I'm one of the few people you have sitting at this table.
Okay, then that makes you nearly unique. But let's get back to the question of the Macedonian, the secret who were the Macedonians?
Look, what she was talking about, and which is well documented, it's why 17 intelligence agencies said, without qualification, that the Russians were behind the subversion of the elections.
But she's talking about the Macedonians. Who were these Macedonians? Hillary Clinton tried to become president 6 months ago. And yesterday on live TV with Kara Swisher, she said the Macedonians did this, these agents.
Right.
Who were they?
I think we saw reports of that as well. They were also working in cahoots with the Russians and WikiLeaks. Look,
how does she know that?
Look, what we know are the facts. The facts are that a couple days before the Democratic Convention, WikiLeaks drops these emails that are very damaging to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, creating a little bit of chaos there.
Right.
We know that Roger Stone boasts about his conversations with Assange, WikiLeaks, and boasts about how Podesta is going to be in the barrel. And then the hour after Access Hollywood, as Hillary said yesterday, the Podesta emails get dropped and dropped and dropped. And Dick Cheney called it an act of war. So your beef is not with
was
me.
Was Dick Cheney involved in the Macedonians?
Well, I'm just saying, your beef is with, if you don't agree with that, you have a complaint with him, not so much with me.
I don't think Dick Cheney is arguing that the Macedonians stole the election from Hillary Clinton, but she is arguing that. And I have to be honest with you, you've been around a long time. I know a ton of Democrats here in Washington. I don't know one of them who isn't shocked by what Hillary Clinton said yesterday, attacking the Democratic Party, attacking Barack Obama's DNC, when she had twice the money of Donald Trump. That's not speculation, it's a fact. When the sitting president of the United States put everything on the line for her, and she attacks, in effect, Barack Obama yesterday. I mean, far be it for me to defend Obama, but that's insane.
Yeah.
He really tried hard to get her elected, and he failed. And she's attacking him now.
Look, the fact that Obama was criticized for not being more hands-on about the DNC. Look, Charles just said what a horrible, horrible candidate Hillary was. This horrible candidate got 3 million more votes than this phenom, Donald Trump, and got more primary votes than Barack Obama.
But hold on. Look, she lost, and there are a lot of reasons why.
Right.
But to turn around and blame the Democratic Party, which was all in for Hillary Clinton, and the DNC, even her former aide, Patty Sleaze Doyle, yesterday said, come on now, this is a horrible thing to do. As a Democrat, how can you defend that?
Look, her principal beef is with Comey. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the polls...
I thought it was with the Russians.
She's up, well, she is too. The principal one is with Comey. If you look at the polls...
But what about sexism?
The day of the Comey letter, she's up 6, and by the time all the dust settles, every single morning for the next week, the mainstream media is talking about the Comey letter, and undecideds, as a result, break for Trump in those few swing states.
I've heard the theory. What did she do wrong, though? She said, I take responsibility for what I did wrong, but I never heard what exactly she did wrong. How did she mess up? She must be culpable in this, too. She lost her second election in a row.
Right.
So what specifically did she do wrong?
I think what she would say is, if she had to do all over again from a messaging standpoint, she would say something along the lines of, I know how to create 22 million new jobs. I was in the White House when that happened. And so this business about what Trump said about creating jobs would be an illusion.
Because my husband did it.
Well, because she was there and she knew, as opposed to, look, we now have somebody who doesn't really know that Frederick Douglass is not alive. Who thinks that Andrew Jackson was around for the Civil War.
And he won. So I guess what you're saying is, if only she'd had a different message, but isn't the message the same as the campaign?
Look,
that entire campaign is built around a message. So you're conceding that she had the wrong message. That's like saying the car's great, it just has no engine.
No, because the fact is, the message was great until the Comey letter. Again, she was up 6 points.
What was the message before that?
She was up 6 points, which was more than Obama was up 10 days out before.
I covered it. I can't remember. What was the message before the Comey letter?
Well, she was basically saying to the middle class, with help that you're going to get, whether it's through education or research and development or job training and all the things, child care, all the things that, frankly, we've seen Congress, frankly, say no to.
I just want to be totally clear. So what she did wrong, because this is a key question. What did she do wrong? She said herself she did. She had this great message that you couldn't explain very well.
I'm sorry you didn't like it.
But she should have changed it.
It was working until the Comey letter.
She should have changed it to something else after the Comey letter. She changed her message after the Comey letter, but she didn't? Is that what she did wrong?
I'm saying that the Comey letter was so serious. There were 50-fold more
what should
research.
She have done?
There were 50-fold
I've heard this. What would she have done?
More searches for Clinton FBI after the Comey letter. There was a big distraction. So you can laugh, Tucker, but again, the message was working. She would have been seen as a genius.
I get it.
Podesta would be a genius.
Look, I think Comey hurt her. I've said that 100 times on this show. I just want to know what she did wrong, and neither you nor she can give me a clear account of it.
I'm telling you,
and
I
that's
think
very
the
telling.
message should have been more about jobs and less kind of, frankly, stronger together. It would just be about jobs. And I think she had a credible case, because when she was living in the White House, 22 million jobs were created.
Why didn't she say it?
I think when you have her on the show, you'll have to ask her.
Because if you can't get your message right, then why would we elect you president?
Oh, because she had the competence, the core competence that we now pray for, that we pray for in this country.
She seemed kind of nuts, actually, yesterday and today. But whatever. That's just my view. It was great to see you. Thank you for that.
Thanks for having me back.